Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing well today. This time we are going to be talking about A Night on the Farm. The story in this game is fairly simple. It feels a little bit like a low budget monster movie. And this is going to date me quite a bit, but it feels like one of those movies you might have seen at like a drive-in movie theater back in the 60s and 70s. One of those really low budget ones where the monster looks clearly fake, like it's just somebody wearing paper mache, and there's not a big cast, and you really don't know where it's taking place. You could also compare it to like some of the Italian horror movies from the 70s, 80s, and even into the 90s. So, what's going on? You start off with your car getting crashed into a fence. You don't know what you hit or what you swerved to avoid. You just went into a fence, and one of the posts for the fence almost killed you. So, in typical video game fashion, you decide to get out and wander towards the nearest building. And then once you get to that building, you decide, why not? I'll break in and just start poking around and see what I could find. I'm guessing you're there to use the phone, but who knows? It becomes pretty apparent that something isn't quite right here because there's nobody home, and after you break into the house, you find just all of these boxes there that are like half packed up and everything. So clearly whoever was here was either just moving in or planning on leaving soon. You also find some weird notes just laying around like something's going on, and they're all talking about this job that they're doing. They talk about a specimen, a facility. They just leave notes to each other about putting things back in the office, and then you find a bunch of locked doors. You'll eventually find key cards for these doors, but right off the bat, you need to get the power going. And then you learn about a facility that's apparently underground. And you also see a creepy entity at certain points throughout the game. So you'll just see some red eyes, and then they'll vanish, and then you'll turn around a corner, and boom, there's the entity, and then it just disappears. It's kind of creepy. Eventually, you make your way into this underground facility, and you learn what happened to the people here. They're all dead. Something went wrong, and again, you take it upon yourself to kind of solve the problem here. At no point do you try to call the police or try to call the people that, actually work for whatever organization this is. There are some tidbits of information that you get, but overall, you don't really know exactly what's going on. But you save the day. And then you can get one of, I think, 3 possible endings. There might be more. It all depends on whether you leave the entity in the glass tube that you find, whether you let it out, or whether you kill it. I decided to let it out because, why the hell not? And I think I got a pretty decent ending. I'm not sure about the other ones. I'll have to go through and examine those at some point. The gameplay is pretty minimal. You're really just wandering around, moving different objects, picking up keys, notes, these weird little toy figures that are collectibles, and you're trying to solve some pretty basic puzzles. You'll eventually get a sheet of paper with a bunch of codes on it that you'll need in order to enter different places. It's kind of fun, but at the same time, you wish something else was happening. I don't think you can die during this game, or at least I didn't die from just going through all of this. There are a few spots where I thought something dangerous was supposed to happen, or it felt like something dangerous was going to happen, but nope, nothing. The entity seems to just not really care that you're there, and it can somehow leave its weird glass tube. There's also this strange alternate dimension that you go into where some of the more complex puzzles happen to be. Overall, it's a pretty simple game that's fairly easy and pretty short. I love the way this game looks. It feels like I'm playing a lost PS1 game. The graphics are much better than that, so like a late 2000s PS1 game, but they still look pretty good. It really looks like it could have been on the PlayStation, and it might have been like a classic from back in the day, but it's a modern game, and I really like this whole art style and what they were going for. I think it looks really cool. The entity or the monster in this, the kind of looks like a Mothman. I think that's what they were going for. So it looks really creepy, especially since you don't see it like actually walking or anything. It's like a static image that just sort of appears and disappears on the screen. It's pretty cool, actually. I just like how it pops up out of nowhere and you just see its glowing red eyes. And if you do get a good look at it, it's not going to be the most visually impressive thing, but it still looks pretty cool, at least in my opinion. The game gives you this feeling like you're being stalked by something, usually the Mothman, but you don't really know if it's going to hurt you or not throughout the entire game, at least on your first playthrough. It's spoilers, it doesn't hurt you at all, but it does kind of creep you out a little bit the first time through. After that, when you know it's coming, it's not going to be scary anymore, but that's usually how horror goes. Things do get a little trippy near the end of the game. I think you get transported to like another dimension or something, but I'm really not sure. It's a little strange. This is actually where the visuals get a little messed up, at least in my opinion. You get transported to this other dimension type place, and everything's upside down, so you're basically walking on the sky. And they're like hidden ramps that you can't really see because everything's in like red and black, or at least red and black become the more dominant colors instead of the grays, red and black. And you have to find these little Mothman symbols. But the game doesn't really tell you that right away, so you might wander around in the first section a bit before you figure it out. And after that, then it's pretty easy to know what you're supposed to do and what you're supposed to be looking for. Every once in a while, one of them will kind of pulsate a little bit to sort of say, hey, dum-dum, this is what you're supposed to click on. So that's kind of helpful, especially since I'm stupid and I need that visual indicator to know what I'm supposed to be doing. Those sections are really cool, especially when you know what happened to the other people that were there. And yeah, it's a pretty interesting place once you go into that other dimension. That's where everything looks kind of fun. While I was playing this, I kept thinking of another game that I had reviewed last year called Rewind or Die. And I think the graphics are very similar to that game, but A Night on the Farm just looks a lot better. I also do like this ending sequence here where all of the dead scientists are like pointing in different directions and you kind of figure out where you need to go and what you're looking for by just following the direction that they're pointing. It's creepy and it's kind of fun at the same time. I did like this game, but it has some issues that might bother some other people. It's a relatively short game. It's about an hour, 15 minutes, hour and a half long. So there's not a whole lot there. If you enjoy games like Firewatch, you might like this one, just because it's a similar game to it, but it doesn't have the same narrative depth as Firewatch does. I think this would be like a really fun game to play late at night. That's kind of how I did it. And it would be really fun to go through and just get all the different endings, or try to like 100% the game, because there are a bunch of collectibles that you can get in this. Some are very important to the plot and advancing the game. Others are just kind of weird, like the little toy robots with a giant eyeball. I don't know what significance they are to the game, but they're kind of creepy and they're pretty cool to try to collect throughout this. I think I got like 11 out of 13 or something like that. Anyway, that's going to wrap things up. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.